I'm Carissa Twee, and the video that I did is called Quantum.
What inspired you to make this?
There are a lot of things that inspired me for this in particular. It was a play on psychology, but it was also understanding the theory of quantum reality. Essentially, it's the idea that the universe is layered and that there are multiple different realities happening at once, simultaneously. For this, it's the idea of shifting between those realities. I was playing with the idea of quantum death, which is essentially stating that every time you die within one realm, your consciousness just jumps to the other realm, the nearest by universe, and essentially all your memories and those kinds of things, because that person is exactly the same as you. The only difference is that one decision is what split the realities. What I wanted to do with this piece in particular is play with the idea of kind of what maybe that does to the human psyche of being almost aware of that shift happening.
Where did you first hear about this idea?
I don't remember the first time that I was introduced specifically to the idea of quantum death. I think it was more so understanding quantum reality through media, through my own research of it. Which again, I'm not a quantum physicist, I'm not a scientist. I'm very interested in neurology and psychology and those kinds of things. And it's always something that's been really fascinating to me, and then fascinating to me on a personal level as well.
So then, about your movement choices that you made in the video, basically why did you make those specific choices?
Well, one, the different realities and the different versions of myself, who I think kind of is more of a character than it is actually me. I do a lot of repetitive movements, which kind of I wanted to signify that overlapping. Within psychology, there's this idea called interpersonal family relations, and it is essentially the different versions of yourself. A lot of times people define this as their work self or their customer service self. But essentially you have different pieces of your brain, and those pieces are the manager, who's kind of the person that is the customer service person, and that's the person who manages your everyday life. And then you have something called a firefighter, which is the crisis intervention kind of person. And then you have the pieces of your brain that are known as rejects, and those are parts of your personality that you don't like. I mean, we all have things that we're like, oh God, I wish I wasn't like that. I wish I didn't do that. I kind of play with that concept within this, of having this one version that is essentially kind of like a reject, and their goal within the narrative is to sort of take everybody else out. But it doesn't work. It just keeps repeating and repeating. That entity is there, and then that person, who's the same person as all the other people, has very rigid movements. But yeah, that's why that one in particular is different, and then that one is a little bit more eerie and unsettling, because that's sort of the reject personality. Again, trying to take out all these entities who are constantly just waking up in reality.
Yeah, and so you have these dimensions, a literal sense, dimensions of the universe, just dimensions of self.
Yes.
And then going on to the visual images that you chose. So what were some images or symbols that you chose, and then why did you choose those things to be shown?
I tend to do this in a lot of videos that I make. I add so many little tiny details that nobody's gonna notice. What comes to mind first is the semicolon, which is essentially a symbol within mental illness that's known as continuation. A story not ending, but continuing, which I thought was a perfect metaphor for this entire thing. And then it also plays with a lot of the psychology aspects that I'm going for. The makeup, and I have the white dress, and then I have the little makeup that has the one eye that's a different color kind of thing. I think that's more so, this is a version that has died and woken up again, but still has that piece of memory or self that still remembers that past universe. Another thing I played with is the idea of the reason that human beings are in a quantum reality is because they exist in a simulation. which kind of is a really good example of why quantum reality is a thing. And I do this with the fade outs of the people, the glitching and the breaking down, and it can kind of be seen as a breaking down of the atoms themselves, but it can also be seen as a very literal simulation breakdown and then reboot. So that's why I use a lot of technological kind of vectors, and because it's slang with the idea of control alt delete, control copy, control paste.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, I guess I can talk about the song itself.
Yeah, we
a
haven't
little
gone
bit.
into any of that.
I really have always enjoyed writing music. I feel like dance is a very physical release for me, and then music is a very mental release. And so they kind of go hand in hand. I've been struggling lately with the concept of dance and words and lyrics. I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't really need words. This was fun because a lot of times when I write music, it's very, very poetic. There's a lot of words and there's a lot of imagery. But for this, I wrote an entire song, like I said before, and then scrapped it. And the song was very word heavy. So what I did was I went to that song and I started just picking out pieces, and I'm like, how can I tell this story with as few words as possible?
Alright. Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
Thank you
of
so much.
course.
So I really appreciate hearing about what goes on in your brain when you think that stuff. But I think the video is really cool.
Oh, I do.
I really like it. I like the song a lot. And where can we see it?
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube. Just type in Quantum by Rizzo, RXXO. You can find it. And follow me on Instagram. Honestly, tweet. I'll be putting up a link so you can go see it. You can subscribe. It's my video. Like, you can listen to the song itself on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you like me looking at the camera. Wherever you like to stream your music, you can go check out some of my other songs as well if you like.
No, we're going down the